Welcome to our channel English Impression. Have you ever felt like the universe was screaming at you to quit? Like every step you take forward is met with resistance. Every dream you chase is shut down before it even has a chance to breathe. Maybe you've tried your best once, twice, maybe 10 times, and each time you've been knocked down harder than before. Now you're sitting there feeling drained, defeated, wondering if it's even worth trying again. If that's you, listen carefully before you throw in the towel, before you let go of everything you once believed in. Remember these 3 words. Never say never. Because the impossible today might be possible tomorrow. They sound simple, but they hold power. These aren't just words you see on a poster or hear in a song. These are words that have carried people through war, through bankruptcy, through depression, through heartbreak, through silence. Never say never is what people whisper to themselves in the dark when no one else believes in them. It's the mantra of the ones who refuse to break, of those who fight when nothing is left, who stand when their legs are shaking, who speak when their voice is trembling. Life is not fair. It doesn't hand out success to those who deserve it most. It rewards the ones who never back down, the ones who refuse to quit no matter how many times they fall. Talent may open a door. Intelligence may get you noticed. But it is relentless belief, unshakable determination, and grit that gets you across the finish line. Every time you say, "I'll never make it," you give away your power. Every time you say, "This is too hard," you shrink your potential. And every time you listen to someone else telling you that you'll never be enough, you allow them to write your ending. But here's the twist: every icon you admire, every hero you look up to, every person who ever achieved something incredible was told never at some point. Nelson Mandela was locked behind bars for nearly 3 decades before becoming a symbol of peace. Stephen King's first novel was rejected so many times he threw it away in frustration. Sylvester Stallone sold his dog just to survive, and that's before he wrote Rocky, a script nobody wanted until he proved the world wrong. These people didn't just hear no, they lived it, but they never allowed never to define them, and neither should you. Right now, no matter what you're facing, failure, fear, financial struggle, loneliness, there is still something inside you that hasn't given up. That spark, that whisper, that tiny voice that says, "Maybe one more try." That's the voice that matters. That's the fire you need to protect. Because as long as you still believe in something, even if it's just a little, that's enough to keep going. That's enough to rise. That's enough to rebuild. People will doubt you. Life will push you to the edge. You will be tested again and again, but you only truly fail when you stop showing up. Don't say never. Say not yet. Say I'm still learning. Say just wait and see. Say whatever you have to, but don't stop. Not now. Not when you've come this far. You weren't born to live a small life. You weren't born to disappear into the background. You are here to rise, to push, to fight, to win. And every time you choose to keep going, even when everything inside you says stop, you're proving to yourself and the world that you're still in the game. You're still alive. And that means your story is still being written. So let the world doubt you. Let the odds stack against you. Let the doors close. But when they do stand up, take a deep breath, look in the mirror, and say it out loud. Never. Say, never. Part 1. The moment you want to quit. There's a moment in every journey when you hit a wall. Not just a small bump, but a massive, immovable wall that makes you question everything. It's the moment when your strength is gone, your vision is blurry, and your motivation has long disappeared. The moment when you sit on the edge of your bed, staring at the floor, asking yourself, why am I still doing this? It's the moment you feel forgotten, unrecognized and invisible. That moment, that exact moment, is when most people quit. It's the place where dreams die and comfort becomes a cage. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. That moment, it's not your enemy. It's your turning point. Quitting doesn't always happen with a dramatic speech or a big breakdown. Sometimes it's quiet. It's subtle. It starts with skipping one small task, telling yourself it's no big deal. It creeps in when you say, "I'll try tomorrow," knowing deep down that tomorrow might never come. And slowly, you stop believing. You stop pushing. You stop showing up. And then one day, the dream that once set your soul on fire becomes just a faint memory, filed away next to the words, "what could have been." But the people who make it, the real winners, the unbreakable ones, they face this same moment too. They feel the same weight on their chest, the same doubts in their mind. The difference? They don't give in. They sit in the pain. They wrestle with it. And then they get up. Not because it's easy. Not because they aren't scared. But because they know that breakthrough is born on the other side of breaking down. They know that giving up is a permanent decision for a temporary emotion. That moment you want to quit? It's not a sign of weakness. It's proof that you're still fighting. Because only people who are trying hard enough to care ever feel like quitting. If it didn't matter to you, if it wasn't something deep in your heart, it wouldn't hurt this much. That pain you feel? It's not the end. It's your body and soul reminding you that what you're doing is worth it, that you're getting closer, that the struggle means something. You've come too far to turn back now. The failures that didn't break you, the sacrifices no one else saw. You didn't get this far just to quit when it gets hard. You didn't survive the storms of your past just to drown in this moment. You're here because something inside you refuses to die quietly. That fire may feel small right now, but it's still burning. And as long as there's even a flicker, you have a reason to rise. So when that moment comes, and it will, don't run from it. Look it in the eye. Let it try to shake you. Let it try to convince you it's over. And then don't move. Stand in the storm. Plant your feet. Grit your teeth. And say the words that will carry you through. Not today. I'm not done. I will not quit. Say it once. Say it 100 times. Say it until your voice becomes a weapon. Because on the other side of this moment is strength you've never tapped into, growth you've never experienced, and victory you've only dreamed of. If you can make it through this moment where everything inside you screams, "give up," you'll realize you were never weak. You were just one decision away from becoming unstoppable. So when the moment to quit comes knocking, remember this. You don't need to be the strongest. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to refuse to give up. One more day, one more push, one more breath. Part 2. Voices of doubt, internal and external. Doubt doesn't always come crashing through the front door. It often slips in quietly, like a whisper in the dark. Sometimes it sounds like a voice you know too well, your own. It tells you you're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes, that others are better, faster, smarter, more talented. It reminds you of every failure you've ever had and convinces you that those failures define your worth. This is the voice of internal doubt, the most dangerous voice of all because it knows exactly where to hit. It knows your insecurities. It knows your fears. And it sounds just like you. But doubt doesn't always stay inside. Sometimes it wears the face of people around you. The ones who say, "Be realistic. Maybe this isn't for you. You should have a backup plan." These people might love you. They might even mean well. But their belief in limitations should never become your truth. Because when you chase something bigger than what others can see, they will project their own fears onto your path. Not because they hate you, but because they can't imagine doing it themselves. What they see as impossible is simply unfamiliar. But you were born to make unfamiliar things reality. There will be moments when the noise gets loud. Friends who mock your ambition. Family who doubts your direction. Strangers who criticize what they don't understand. And in between all that, your own voice will question everything. What if they're right? What if I fail? What if I'm wasting my time? But in that space between fear and faith, you have to choose. Will you let the voice of doubt be louder than the voice of purpose? Or will you speak louder, even if your voice shakes? Let's be honest. Believing in yourself isn't easy. It takes courage to silence the negativity. It takes strength to keep going when nobody claps for you. It takes fire to push forward when every voice, including your own, tells you to stop. But you have that fire, even if it's small, even if it's flickering. You have the power to tell yourself a different story. One that says, yes, I've failed, but I'm not finished. One that says, I may be behind, but I'm still moving. One that says, I don't care what they think, this is my life, and I'm not giving up. Because here's the truth. Every person who ever did something great had to fight through doubt. Every champion was once uncertain. Every success story started with a moment of disbelief, but they kept going. Not because the voices disappeared, but because they chose to listen to something deeper. They chose to listen to the quiet, unshakable voice inside that said, try again. You have that voice too. It may be buried under years of fear, rejection, and negativity, but it's still there. And every time you choose to rise, every time you speak life over your goals, every time you keep walking when it would be easier to turn around, that voice gets louder, stronger, clearer. So the next time doubt shows up, whether it's in your mind or from the mouths of others, don't argue. Don't try to convince them. Just keep moving. Let your results speak. Let your growth speak. Let your transformation be the answer. Because nothing silences doubt like undeniable progress. You don't owe the world an explanation. You don't need permission to chase what sets your soul on fire. Let them doubt you. Let them laugh. Let them say never. Then go out and prove that never was always a lie. Part 3. The power of persistence. Success doesn't belong to those who start fast, it belongs to those who keep going. The truth is, talent can give you a head start. Luck might help you for a while, but nothing, absolutely nothing, outperforms persistence. It's the quiet, consistent force that doesn't ask for applause, doesn't need recognition, and doesn't care how long the road is. Persistence is what separates those who almost made it from those who actually did. And yet it's the one thing most people give up on too soon. When you think of the greats, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, leaders, you often see the end result, the championship trophy, the best-selling book, the global empire. But what you don't see is what came before all that. The thousands of early mornings, the nights filled with doubt, the hours when no one was watching. You don't see the rejection letters, the unpaid work, the endless practice. What made them great wasn't just their skills, it was their refusal to stop showing up. Persistence is not glamorous. It's not exciting. In fact, it often feels boring and painful. It means doing the hard thing even when you don't feel like it. It means repeating the same routine even when results aren't showing. It means getting up after every fall, brushing off the dirt, and stepping forward again even if it's just 1 inch. That's where most people fail. They expect fireworks. They want fast results. But true growth lives in the grind. The slow, unrelenting, invisible effort that stacks up over time until one day, everything changes. There's power in being the person who refuses to quit. Because when the world expects you to give up and you don't, something shifts. You build mental strength. You develop discipline. You prove to yourself that you are not controlled by circumstances or emotion. Every time you persist, you grow stronger, not just in ability, but in identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone who tries, but as someone who finishes. Let me tell you something, life will test your patience. Your dreams will take longer than you want. You'll have to keep moving through the moments when it seems pointless, when no one is watching, and when nothing is working. But if you can learn to fall in love with the process, to find pride in the effort itself, you become unstoppable. Because when you no longer need instant results to stay motivated, you've already won. That's the mindset of a champion. There will be days when your energy is low, your confidence is shaken, and your path feels endless. That's normal. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're doing the real work, the kind of work most people aren't willing to do. So don't get discouraged when progress is slow. Don't give up just because it's taking time. Every step you take is building momentum. Every small win is stacking up. And every second you keep going is proof that you're becoming the person you're meant to be. People may overlook you now. They may not see the hours you're putting in. But when the results show, when the transformation happens, they'll call it luck.
Let them, ULL, know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was persistence. It was staying the course when the road was empty. It was choosing consistency over comfort. It was showing up for yourself when no one else would. So keep going. When it's hard. When it's lonely. When it feels pointless. Keep going. Because persistence doesn't just build success, it builds character. And character, that's what wins in the end. Never say never. Just say. One more time. Part 4. Failure is feedback. Failure. Just the word alone can make your chest tighten, your heart sink, and your confidence crumble. It's the experience we fear, the outcome we try to avoid, the label we hope never sticks. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if failure isn't the enemy, but the teacher? What if failure isn't a stop sign, but a signpost that points you in a better direction? The truth is, failure is feedback, raw, honest, and sometimes painful, but always essential. The world teaches us that failing means we're not good enough. That if we didn't win, we lost. That if we made a mistake, we should feel ashamed. But growth doesn't happen in perfection, it happens in the wreckage. It happens when plans fall apart. It happens when we take a leap and land flat on our face. Because it's in those moments of disappointment that life gives us its greatest lessons. Failure is how you learn what doesn't work. It's how you sharpen your instincts, build resilience, and develop the wisdom that success demands. Think about it, every master was once a beginner who failed more times than others were willing to try. Thomas Edison created 1,000 failed versions of the light bulb before one finally worked. He didn't call them failures. He called them steps towards success. Michael Jordan missed more than 9,000 shots in his career and lost hundreds of games. But he is known as the greatest, not because he never failed, but because he never let failure define him. The difference between those who make it and those who don't is not perfection, it's perspective. Failure only wins if you stop listening. But if you lean in, if you study it, if you ask, what can this teach me? Then failure becomes a tool. It shows you what needs to change. It reveals where you need to grow. It humbles you. Yes. But it also sharpens you. It strips away ego and replaces it with strength. The kind of strength that doesn't flinch the next time you face a challenge. The kind of strength that carries you through storms most people run from. And don't let anyone fool you. Everyone fails. Even the people you admire most. The only difference. They didn't quit. They didn't hide from their losses. They used them. They dissected them. They let failure fuel their fire. Not kill it. That's how greatness is built. Not in winning all the time, but in refusing to give up when losing feels unbearable. So if you've failed recently, or if you're in the middle of a failure right now, good. That means you're trying. That means you're in the arena. That means you care enough to risk something. And that courage is worth more than comfort. Let the failure sting. Yes, but don't let it stop you. Take the lesson. Take the scar. Take the experience. Then stand back up. Wiser than before. And go again. Because every setback is a setup. Every breakdown is an invitation to break through. Every time you fail, you're one step closer to figuring it out. One step closer to becoming who you were meant to be. You may not feel it now. But one day, you'll look back and realize that your biggest failures were your greatest blessings. The things you thought were destroying you were actually building you. So the next time you fall, and you will don't call yourself a failure. Call yourself a fighter. A learner. A warrior in training. And most of all, remind yourself, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Part 5. Discipline over motivation. Motivation is a beautiful thing, but it is unreliable. One day, you wake up ready to conquer the world. Next, you can't even get out of bed. That's the trap so many people fall into. They wait for motivation to show up like it as some kind of permission slip to act. But the truth is, motivation is a mood. And moods change. What really builds your life, your dreams, your legacy is discipline. Motivation might light the fire, but discipline keeps it burning when everything else fades. Discipline isn't flashy. It doesn't care if you're inspired. It doesn't care if you're tired, unmotivated, or discouraged. Discipline shows up anyway. It is the quiet choice you make when no one is watching, the choice to go for the run. Write the page. Study the course. Stay committed. Even when every part of you wants to stop. That's where greatness is born, not in the hype. Not in the moment of excitement. But in the lonely hours when no one is clapping for you and nothing seems to be working. Most people fail not because they aren't good enough, but because they rely on feelings to decide their future. They chase motivation like a drug, hoping a podcast, a quote, or a video will spark their fire again. But champions don't wait for a spark, they build their own fire every single day. They know that success isn't about how you feel in the moment, it's about what you do in the moment, regardless of how you feel. Discipline is what makes you show up when motivation is gone. It is what makes you do the reps at the gym when you're sore and exhausted. It is what pushes you to keep writing the book when you've hit writer's block. It is what drives you to keep building the business when no one believes in you yet. It is what keeps you consistent, focused, and unshakable in the face of doubt. Because discipline doesn't answer emotions. It answers to purpose. And the best part, discipline is a skill. You're not born with it, you build it. Every time you follow through. Even when you don't feel like it. You strengthen that muscle every time you stick to your plan, even in chaos. You retraining your brain to respect your own word. And once you start living by discipline, you become dangerous not to others, but to every excuse, every distraction, every fear that once held you back. Think about it. You won't always feel motivated to eat right, train hard, work late, or get up early. But if you've trained yourself to be disciplined, you'll do it anyway. That's how empires are built. That's how the impossible becomes reality. Through repetition, consistency, and action, not through waiting for inspiration to magically arrive. Discipline is freedom. It frees you from regret, from guilt, from constantly starting over. It creates momentum, and momentum creates results. And those results, they spark confidence. And that confidence, it feeds back into your fire. Not the emotional fire of fleeting motivation, but the unshakable fire of belief built one disciplined day at a time. So if you want to rise, if you want to break through, stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting to feel motivated. Just begin. Do the thing. Show up. Again and again. Whether you feel like it or not. Because when your goals are bigger than your excuses, you will find a way. That's what the strong do. That's what the committed do. That's what the unstoppable do. And when it gets hard, because it will, don't say, I don't feel like it. Say, this is who I am now. Say, I keep going anyway. Say, never say never. Part 6. Your comeback is greater than your setback. Life will knock you down, it's not a matter of if, but when. It doesn't care how good your intentions are, how hard you've worked, or how badly you want something. At some point, you will experience loss. You'll face failure. You'll make mistakes that shake your confidence to the core. You'll find yourself in a dark place wondering, can I come back from this? And that's when you have to dig deep and realize something powerful. Your comeback will always be greater than your setback if you don't give up. The world loves a comeback story. But what they don't show is the part in between, the messy middle. The long, painful stretch of time where you're trying to rebuild yourself, brick by brick, with nothing but tears, grit, and raw determination. No spotlight, no applause, just you, facing your demons. That's the real story. That's the real test. And it's in that silent struggle where greatness is born. You see, setbacks aren't the end of your journey, they're part of the journey. Every setback is a setup for something greater. But only if you choose to rise. Only if you decide that failure isn't the final chapter, but the turning point. The moment that breaks most people can be the moment that makes you. If you have the courage to keep fighting, because there is something special about rebuilding yourself. There is power in rising from the ashes. You're not just coming back, you're coming back stronger, smarter, and more focused. When you've been through pain, rejection, disappointment, and you're still standing, you become unshakable. Because once you realize you survived the worst, you no longer fear falling. You start walking with a new level of strength, not the kind that's loud or proud, but the kind that's quiet and unbreakable. The kind of strength that says, I've been broken before. I've lost before. But I never stayed down. And I am not staying down now. Remember, Every champion has scars. Every success story has a chapter no one wants to talk about. The part where they almost gave up. The part where they cried behind closed doors. The part where they were laughed at, doubted, ignored, but those who come back are the ones who rewrite their story. They don't erase the pain, they use it. They turn wounds into wisdom, and setbacks into stepping stones. You may feel behind right now. You may feel broken, discouraged, lost, but that's not the end. That's the beginning of your return. And your return will shock the world, not because you never fell, but because you never gave up. You kept believing when there was no reason to. You kept working when no one was watching. You kept dreaming when everything told you to let go. That's strength. That's power. That's your comeback. So no matter how bad it looks, no matter how far you've fallen, how deep the hole feels, how long it's been, you can rise again. Your past does not disqualify your future. Your failure does not cancel your purpose. Your setback is not your sentence, it's your signal. A signal that it's time to rewrite the script, time to show the world what you're made of. Time to return not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. Your comeback isn't just possible, it's necessary. It's what you were built for. So hold your head high. Wipe your tears. Clench your fists. And remind yourself, I've been down before. But I am not done. This is not where my story ends. This is where it begins. Never say never, because the greatest comebacks come from the darkest places. Part 7. You only lose when you stop. The harsh truth is this. You don't lose when you fail. You don't lose when you fall. And you don't lose when life knocks you down. You only lose when you decide to stop. When you give up. When you close the book on your story before it's finished. The moment you quit, that's the moment your dreams die. Everything else is just part of the journey, part of the process, part of becoming stronger and wiser. But stopping, that's final. And that's what separates the quitters from the winners. You see, losing isn't an event. It's a decision. It's the choice to stop fighting, to stop believing, to stop trying. And it's a choice you get to make every single day. When you wake up tired, beaten down, discouraged, you can decide to stay in bed and give up, or you can decide to rise. When people doubt you, when the odds are against you, when the world says no, you get to decide if that will be the end or if you will keep going. And as long as you keep going, you haven't lost. Not even close. Every champion, every success story you've ever heard has one thing in common: they refused to quit. They lost count of how many times they stumbled. But they never lost sight of the finish line. They understood that failure is temporary, but quitting is permanent. They knew that the pain of effort is far better than the pain of regret. Because regret is a heavy burden to carry, and it lasts a lifetime. But the struggle is a sign you're alive. You're fighting. And you're growing. Think about the times when you felt like you couldn't go on anymore. The nights filled with doubt. The days weighed down by fear. The moments you thought, maybe this is too hard. Those were the moments you had to choose. And the ones who succeed are the ones who chose to keep moving. Not because they were fearless or perfect, but because they knew the only true loss is giving up. Your journey is unique. Your battles are yours alone. No one can take away your dreams unless you hand them over yourself. So hold on tight to your vision, to your goals, to your purpose. Protect it fiercely. Fight for it daily. Because as long as you don't quit, you race still in the game. You race still writing your story. And that means your future is still wide open. You might feel broken right now. You might feel like you're losing. But remember this. Losing is not the absence of failure, it's the absence of persistence. It's the refusal to get back up. And you, right now, have the power to refuse that. You have the power to say, I am not done yet. I am not quitting. And that power, that choice is what makes all the difference. So when life pushes you down, when fear whispers in your ear, when exhaustion clouds your mind, stand up anyway. Take one more step. Give one more effort. Make one more call. Send one more message. Show up one more time. Because you only truly lose when you stop. Until then, you are still fighting, still growing, still winning. Never quit. Because the moment you stop is the moment you lose. And you were born to win. As we come to the end of this journey together, remember this. Life will always test you. It will throw obstacles in your path. Challenges that feel impossible to overcome. And moments when giving up seems like the easiest option. But it is exactly in these moments when the weight feels unbearable and the future looks uncertain, that your true strength is revealed. You have within you a power so great that no setback, no failure, no doubt, no external voice can extinguish it unless you allow it. That power is the choice to keep going, the choice to rise again, the choice to say never. Your story is not defined by your failures or the times you fell. It is defined by what you do next. It is defined by the moments you chose persistence over quitting, action over fear, hope over despair. Every champion, every success, every person who ever made a difference in this world faced the same battles you face. They stumbled. They doubted. They fell. But they never stayed down. They never allowed a single never to become their final answer. You are no different. No matter what has happened in your past, no matter what you're going through today, your future is still waiting for you to claim it. Your dreams are still alive, even if they seem buried under years of doubt or layers of pain. Your potential is still there, waiting for you to step into it, to believe in it, and to fight for it, because the only limits that truly exist are the ones you accept. You have heard the stories of those who failed, but refused to quit, people like Oprah, Michael Jordan, Walt Disney, and countless others. What separates them from the rest is not talent or luck alone, but an unshakable mindset. A mindset that says, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you fall, I will never say never. And that same mindset is inside you right now. It is waiting to be awakened. Imagine what your life would look like if you never gave up. No matter what. Imagine the dreams you could reach, the obstacles you could overcome, the person you could become. That is not a fantasy, it is a real possibility. But it requires one thing: relentless belief in yourself. It requires showing up every day, even when the fire feels small. It requires choosing discipline over comfort, persistence over ease, and hope over fear. Never let anyone else define what you can or cannot do. Never let a single failure convince you that you're done. Never let the voices of doubt, whether inside your head or from others, steal your courage. Because the world needs you. The world needs your light, your strength, your story. So today, make a promise to yourself. Promise that when the hard days come, and you will stand firm. Promise that when the voices say quit, you will speak louder and say, I am not done. Promise that no matter how many times you fall, you will get back up. Because every step you take forward is a victory. Every moment you refuse to quit is a triumph. This is your life, your journey, your fight, and you have what it takes to win it. The power is inside you, waiting to be unleashed by your decision to keep going. So embrace your setbacks. Learn from your failures. Harness the power of discipline. And never stop believing in the greatness within you. Remember, the only time you truly lose is when you stop. So don't stop. Keep moving forward. Keep rising. Keep fighting. Your comeback is waiting. Your victory is near. Your story is far from over. Now go out there and make it happen.